So all of this is to stop from manifestations of the delusions, from manifesting it. So, so then that after completing the above, okay, so you do that visualizations, the merging of spiritual masters, you know. So again, as is in these visualizations, you know, when they merge, then you know, the Guru Avalokiteshvara or Cherisik, you know, enter into yourself at your heart, center of your heart, and then you try to see, you know, yourself, the Guru, here His Holiness the Lama in these cases, and Yidam or the deity, Avalokiteshvara, you know, all of them as one inseparable. That is the merging of. When you do that, then you try to see, you try to visualize, you try to think all of them inseparable one, you know, inseparable one. Instead of seeing yourself separate from the Guru, seeing yourself separate from the deity, the Yidam, but we try to see yourself one, inseparable from the Guru, one inseparable from the deity, you know. So that also the deity and Guru inseparable. So basically, all inseparable, and especially, you know, as some, you know, as some teacher, the master explains, you know, your subtle body inseparable from the Guru Yidam's inseparable body, your subtle speech inseparable from the, you know, the Guru Yidam's speech, and your more subtle mind inseparable from the Guru Yidam enlightened mind. And so, so that is one. Okay, and so when you do that, visualize the merging of the deity or the Buddha or Guru Yidam deity inseparable, and merging and try to meditate on that, you know, by seeing oneness inseparable, by seeing oneness and inseparable, and trying to remain in that, you know, rest in that meditations by seeing all one and inseparable, and you try to remain in that state, you know, for a while, you know. So it is to train our minds to overcome the dualistic mind, you know. At the moment, we have a lot of dualistic mind, you know. Me, the deity, the Yidam, you know, all of them. And so, so by seeing all in one, so it is a training to, again, to, one is to stop that kind of dualistic mind. And secondly, you know, to have that imprint to actualize all those qualities in the future, so we can continue to have that, you know, and to receive the blessings, you know. So, so that, and then, you know, you try to recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, you know, as he says, as many as possible. So you can try to recite, you know, 30 times, 7 times, 21 times, 1 mala, or more of that, you know. Om Mani Padme Hum is such a short mantra, so, you know, so therefore I think you can recite at least a one mala, at least a one mala, because it will not take too much time. Okay. So maybe I thought so there is first I want to kind of explain a little bit about the benefit of reciting the mantras, and especially the benefit of reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, this particular mantra. As it is explained, in some of the commentaries, that if you recite such mantras, whatever daily mantras, by following all the sadhana, that is which has all the completion of beginning, the actual practice and conclusion, all that, and according to the tantras, whether it's lower tantra or highest yoga tantra, if you try to recite mantra by following as it is explained there over the time, then you will have the power of your speech. You gain the power of the speech through the mantras, and through the power of the speech, by reciting mantra, you can be able to help and benefit sentient beings and yourself. Like, for example, many practitioners who have practiced and recite those mantras, millions, billions, and all of that, sometimes they recite the mantra and blowing on someone who has some kind of illness, some sickness. Sometimes they can cure and heal that, by the power of that mantra, of their speech, because they have recited that mantra so much. Not just reciting with, again, as I mentioned, properly, and there are, I've heard so many people's, where they have experienced directly, where they are having some problems, on their different things, and then certain practitioners, certain Lama, blowing them on that with the mantras, how they were able to cure and heal, And sometimes, again, practitioner recite the mantra and blow on the water, and that water is blessed. And then when people use that water to clean, if they have some kind of, wound, some kind of rashes or some whatever problem, that sometimes they can be healed. Of course, you cannot kind of ignore the whatever treatment that you need to do, but on top of that, you can also use that, and those. And so again, so your speech through reciting your speech, the power of speech, that way through reciting and blowing that, sometimes you can cure that, And through by reciting that mantras, you reach a certain point where you can engage into different activities of benefiting sentient being through peaceful expansions, empowering, and wrathful actions. And through that, you can help and benefit sentient beings. Also, through that power of the mantras, we can kind of invoke the enlightened beings, able to invoke the enlightened beings because of the power of the mantras and the speech. At the moment, we are unable to attract because we don't have that power of the mantras. But when you have recite properly with that kind of sadhana, then you reach power that you are able to invoke the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and to be able to receive the blessings from them, and to be able to receive blessing of clearing obstacles in this and future lives, and as well as to receive all the conducive conditions, and also to purify the negative karma, delusions, and also to achieve, the common attainment and supreme attainments of enlightenment. And again, those are explaining, many of the different tantric commentaries. So that is general benefit of reciting the mantras, correctly, And then, in terms of especially the mantra of the 6 syllable or 6 syllable mantra of Mani Padme Hum, then if you recite mantra again with at the very beginning, have a renunciations, bodhicitta mind with that kind of motivations, and then you follow whatever sadhanas following that, and having a very unshakable faith, devotion to the Guru Deity, with that kind of unshakable faith and devotions, and then you recite the mantra, then we create the karma and become fortunate to meet the Guru Avalokiteshvara again and again in the futures until we achieve enlightenment. So then we, in these cases, we will continue to, meet like His Holiness Dalai Lama, Guru, and cherish Avalokiteshvara, the deity, not only this life, but in all future lives until we achieve enlightenment. Also, it also helps through reciting those mantras to whenever there is some kind of fear of, climate distractions, fire, water, wind, whatever, through reciting those, we might be able to kind of, subdue that kind of harm, and then one will be, more happy in this life, and also free from the suffering in the future. And when we die, we create a cause and condition to born in the Avalokiteshvara, the Idam Avalokiteshvara pure land, and that is mentioned in the Sutra, the White Lotus Sutra. The White Lotus Sutra is, and in that White Lotus Sutra, it has explained all of those benefits, and also, so there's a long of that, so I'm not going to read each of them, but actually there is a long benefit from the White Lotus Sutra on that. And also it mentions, of course, by reciting that, you purify, not only just reciting, but as I mentioned, just following the sadhana properly with everything's, right motivations, bodhicitta, renounce bodhicitta, and then, visualization, whatever that is in sadhana, just following up properly, correctly, and then after on the basis of that, reciting that, then one will purify so much negative karma that we recited from the past, and then one will be able to see the Guru Avalokiteshvara, whether in meditations or whether in a dream. For some people, they can see the Guru Deity in their meditations. They have that experience. They are able to see it. Sometimes you cannot see in the meditation, but you might be able to see in the dream. So again. And it also mentioned, that even we have created the most, heaviest negative karma, also that can be purified, and then of course achieve the enlightenment, the Guru Avalokiteshvara's enlightenment. In one of the, one of the great masters, Kunchen Mipam, in his commentary, he says, if you recite 100,000, negative karma will purify. If you recite 200,000, 300,000, you will be able to see the deity in the dream. If you recite, millions of them, then even you can purify even the most heavy negative karma. And the King Songtse Gampo, King, one of the Dharma King Songtse Gampo, he is supposed to be one of the manifestations of the Avalokiteshvara himself, So Songtse Gampo, King Songtse Gampo was known as, or believed as the manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. And he had composed, a lot of practice on Avalokiteshvara Charisi, and in one of them he says, if you try to practice the Avalokiteshvara as the yidam or personal deity, there's no supreme or better deity than to take that as your personal deity. And he said, in terms of purifying and cleansing, and there's no supreme than reciting the Om Mani Padme Hum mantras. And he also mentions, not only purify the negative karma and obscuration, then of course one will achieve enlightenment. So he also says, if you want to purify for yourself, recite the Om Mani Padme Hum, the 6-syllable Om Mani Padme Hum. If you want to purify other sentient beings, recite the Om Mani Padme Hum. If you want to achieve, common achievement in this life, recite Om Mani Padme Hum. If you want to achieve, supreme attainment in the futures, recite Om Mani Padme Hum. And this practice of Avalokiteshvara and reciting the Om Mani Padme Hum and practice that is the shadow of the previous Buddhas. It is something all the present Buddha rely on, and it is the path of all the future Buddhas. And he also explains, there is no other mantra or practice which is supreme than reciting the Om Mani Padme Hum. There is no, and therefore, try to request with a strong faith and devotions because there's no higher blessing than that one. You know? By reciting that, you please all the Buddhas of 3 times. You know, you purify the obscurations of the sentient beings of 3 realms, and it is the most secret blessings. And this, by reciting the Om Mani Padme Hum, you know, then one pay homage and make offering to all the Buddha's Dharma. By reciting it, one will be able to clear the suffering of 6 realms. One will be able to achieve the 6 Buddhahood and 6 wisdom, and increase the blessings. Yeah, another great master, Kunchen Mipam, he said, you know, this mantra is a very short but very powerful mantra, the 6 syllable Om Mani Padme Hum. And by reciting it, there is incredible, you know, benefit. And it is like a wish fulfilling jewel, you know, that will fulfill all our needs and all sentient beings' needs. It is the king of clearing all the obstacles and all the obstacles. And it is the most supreme blessing to achieve the enlightenment. Another great master, you know, Padru Jigme, he says, you know, the infallible one refuge is the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, 3 jewels. And Avalokiteshvara is the essence of 3 jewels. You know. Therefore, one should recite the 6 syllable mantras of Om Mani Padme Hum, you know, by totally surrendering ourselves to the Guru Avalokiteshvara, without two-minded, with a full mind, without any doubt, without any two-minded, with full devotion, with a full faith, one should recite that. And one deity that encompasses all the Buddhas is the Avalokiteshvara. One mantra that encompasses all the mantra is the 6 syllable mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum. One Dharma that encompasses all the path of generation completions is the Bodhicitta mind. And one thing that by knowing that knowing all and by being able to free all is reciting Om Mani Padme Hum. And another great Kundang Deme Dome, you know, one great again, Amdo master, he says, you know, one practice that has the incredible blessing is the mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum. And therefore, you know, even from the young childhood, you should try to memorize and recite it. And this is the advice he gives to the Tibetan, where he says, you know, this is your fortune, it is your karmic deity, you know, karmically connected deity, Avalokiteshvara. So those are some of the benefit of the, you know, the mantras in general, especially the Om Mani Padme Hum mantras. And again, another thing that His Holiness mentioned, I think I've heard quite a few times over the years, you know, reciting Om Mani Padme Hum, there is no danger of it worldly concerns. For others mantras, for example, Medicine Buddha, we think, oh, I want to heal. I'm sick, I want to heal. So it becomes eight worldly concerns. We recite the Tara mantra because I want to overcome the obstacles. Me or my family, my friend is eight worldly concerns. It's a selfish attitude. We don't think for all sentient beings. When it happened to my friends, my family, my this, then we think of doing that. So it is. So if there is eight worldly concerns, there is some involvement, some self-centeredness, eight worldly concerns, and we recite Guru Rinpoche when we need to clear some obstacles, so a lot of those mantras we recite, it can kind of come out of eight worldly concerns. But when we recite Om Mani Padme Hum, we don't have all of those things. We recite because we want to develop the compassion. That's the main person we recite Om Mani Padme Hum, because we want to develop the compassions. When we recite Om Mani Padme Hum, we don't think of, I want to heal my illness. We don't think of, oh, I want to clear my obstacles, or for my success of whatever we're trying to, so that is when we think of Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra of Avalokiteshvara is always connected with compassion. So, so therefore, it is such a powerful, because if we are able to recite that with that kind of intention, motivation, not out of worldly concern, but out of good intentions to cultivate bodhicitta mind, to cultivate compassions, to be able to be like Avalokiteshvara. So then, so therefore, that is why. And His Holiness, he also recite many mala every day, of Om Mani Padme Hum, Yeah, like my parents, and not only my parents, most elderly in our community, all over the Himalayan regions, mostly Himalayan region who are Buddhists, many of them, they recite 10,000 Om Mani Padme Hum throughout the day, 5,000, 10,000 every day. Some of them have make a commitment to recite that. So no matter how busy they are, they try to recite that, and I do believe that has some impact in their life, to be a little bit more kind, more compassion, So that is the so. Now, the meaning of Om Mani Padme Hum, the meaning of the mantras, like all the mantras, there is a literal meaning, literal, and there is kind of the hidden meanings, the actual hidden meanings, what that symbolizes. Literally it means, money means, like jewel, Padme is the lotus, So when you say Avalokiteshvara, Avalokiteshvara is holding the jewel and the lotus. So it is, that is like I pay homage, and I prostrate, pay homage to the one who is holding the jewel and the lotus, and please bless me, So referring to Avalokiteshvara, okay. Mm. Mm. The more kind of the actual meaning and uh, the hidden meaning is, most of the mantras start with Om, okay? And Om is kind of auspiciousness. So everything starts with auspicious, and that is one why most of the mantras start with Om in one way. Another way is Om has 3 letters in Sanskrit. It's a combination of 3 letters. There's A, O, and Ma. There are 3 letters. A, O, Ma. And those 3 letters make this sound Om. Okay? 3 letters coming together make this sound of Om. And so that represents, okay, enlightened body and speech and mind. Okay, 3 letters. That 3 letters that come together to make that sound Om symbolize and represent enlightened body, speech, and mind. So that is our spiritual ultimate goal. Okay, we want to achieve. We want to transform this unenlightened body into enlightened body. We want to transform this unenlightened speech into enlightened speech. We want to transform this unenlightened mind into that enlightened mind. So that Om represents our ultimate spiritual goal that we want to achieve. That. So if we want to achieve enlightened body, speech, and mind, then what is the path? What is the path to achieve that? Then next one, money payment. Money payment, it explain or show the path to achieve that, how to achieve that, how to achieve, enlightened body, speech, and mind. So by following particular path. And so money, as I mentioned, is literally means jewel. Padma is literally means lotus. And the jewel represent the bodhicitta mind, the method. Okay, the bodhicitta mind, the method. Just as the jewel, the wish-fulfilling jewel can fulfill sentient being need, okay? Just as the wish-fulfilling jewel can fulfill sentient being's need, That is why it is called wish-fulfilling jewel, Wish-fulfilling jewel is something that fulfills the sentient being's needs. In the same way, the method, the bodhicitta mind, is that fulfill all sentient beings' well-being, all sentient beings' temporary need and ultimate needs, Just as His Holiness said, in Shantideva said, and all the Kunu Lama Rinpoches, and Lama Sopa Rinpoche, as they all says, if you want to fulfill your wishes, your need, practice bodhicitta. If you want to fulfill others' needs and other wishes, practice bodhicitta. If you want to be happy, practice bodhicitta. If you want to make others happy, practice bodhicitta. If you want a temporary happiness, practice bodhicitta. If you want your ultimate happiness, practice bodhicitta. And because that bodhicitta is the source of all sentient beings' happiness, it is the one that fulfills all sentient beings' need, and therefore it's like the wish fulfilling jewel. so that the money symbolize and represent the path of method, the Bodhicitta mind. Padma, the lotus, symbolize here, it symbolizes the wisdom. Wisdom relies on the ultimate truth or reality. Mm-hmm. So the lotus, I don't know whether, I don't think it's all the lotus, but many of the lotus, it grows from the swamp, kind of muddy. But as it's come from that, and then it is not polluted by the muds. The flower of the lotus flower itself is not polluted by the muds, So similarly, when you are the wisdom realizing emptiness, then even when you are in samsara, you will not be polluted by the samsaric faults. Do you get it? So if you have the wisdom realizing emptiness, the wisdom realizing the ultimate truth, nature, while even being samsara, you will not be diluted or polluted by the defect of the samsara because of that wisdom. And therefore that wisdom's, that lotus symbolizes that wisdom. Okay? So that is the path to achieve enlightened body, speech, and mind by cultivating that method and wisdom, that two paths. The method path and the wisdom path, money payment. Okay? And the whom is the union of that wisdom and the method. So not only we need to cultivate and develop the wisdom and the method, but we need to practice them instead of separate, but try to practice in the union of them, together. And so through the practice of union of wisdom and method, then we will be able to achieve the union of two bodies, the Dharmakaya body and Rupakaya body. So by practicing those two things in union, the method and the wisdom, hand to hand, complementing each other, supporting each other, wisdom supporting the method supporting the wisdom, and complementing each other together, practicing them together in that union, then as a result, when you achieve enlightenment, then you achieve the union of the Dharmakaya wisdom and the form body of Rupakaya. The union of Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya. And when you achieve Dharmakaya and Rupakaya, the union of Rupakaya and Dharmakaya, then, our body, speech, and mind all has been transformed into an enlightened body, speech, and mind without any defect, and source of virtue, source of happiness for all sentient beings. So that is, and then, if you really go in details, then there is a lot of okay. So, there is a lot, if you want to, there is a lot on that, how each of those 6 syllables represent different things. I think if I go all of them, I think it might be too much. Maybe sometimes when you have too much, then you get lost. Too much information. So again, Om Mani Padme Hum, in terms of practice, it represents, Om, Om symbolize and presents the practice of the perfection of generosity. Ma, the perfection of moral discipline. Ma, Ni, the perfection of patience. But the perfection of the joyous effort. Ma, Pat, Ma, the perfection of the meditative concentrations, and then Hum, the perfection of the wisdom. So again, those 6 letters represent the 6 perfections, And again, by reciting those 6 syllables, each of those mantras, when you recite that, each of them purify different delusions, 6 different delusions. Om purifies, by reciting that, Om purify the delusions of the ignorance, Om Ma, the delusion of anger, Om Ma, Ni, the delusion of, delusional pride, but like Padma, or Pe, the delusions of the attachments, and Ma or Padma, Ma, the delusion of jealousies, and then Hum, purify all the delusions, all the different delusions, So in terms of purifying the delusions, that is that. In terms of practice of 6 perfection, that's how each of those syllables symbolize and represent, and that, and also, you are practicing each of those syllables, that, and then also, in terms of going to refuge, Om, going refuge to the Buddha, Ma, going refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, Ni, going refuge to the Sangha, Pe, going to refuge to the Guru, Me, going refuge to the Yidam, and then Hum, going refuge to the Daginis, Daga Daginis, And also, by reciting the Om, make entreating the holy body, Ma, entreating the holy speech, Ni, entreating the holy mind, Pe, entreating the enlightened activities, and Me, entreating the Pe, entreating the enlightened qualities, excellent qualities, and then Me, and then entreating the enlightened activities, and then Hum, entreating the enlightened body, speech, mind, and all the excellent qualities as well as the activities. And then again, in terms of each of them, in terms of the path, Om, the path of the accumulations, Ma, path of preparations, Ni, path of seeing, Pe, path of meditations, Me, path of no more learning, and the Hum, the path of union, And so again, same in achieving the 6 wisdom, 6 Buddhas, each, and then there are many others, how each of them, cure from different illness, purify different. So I think maybe I will just kind of. So So that is the meaning of Om Mani Padme Hum. And then at the end, upon conclusions, so after you recite the Om Mani Padme Hum, how many ever you want to recite, 1 mala, 10 mala, 100 malas, or 21 times, whatever. Upon conclusions, recite once the 100 syllable mantra of Vasasattva, So you can say Om Vasasattva, or sometime when it is related with this deity, Om Pema Sattva Sambhaya Manupala, Pema Sattva Tigamya Sudokamsu. Instead of Vasa, it can be Pema as well. But so anyway, here it says Vasasattva, so you can recite Om Vasasattva. So there is a Vasa mantra, you recite one time. And so that after each of the mantra we try to do, that is to purify if any mistake we might have made, when you try to do the sadhanas and recitation of mantras, maybe sometime we might have made some mistake in terms of not being able to pronounce correctly or distracted while we are reciting it, or sometimes missing it, some mantras, or sometimes. So whatever mistake we might have made, so it is kind of purifying the whatever mistake we might have made. So for that, you do the Vasasattva, recite one Vasasattva for that. And so I think maybe let me see, there is a couple of questions. Concentration being upside down. I see. Okay, I guess. I don't think it's questions. There are some mantra that purify just by singing, like Asha Samaha. You downloaded this from the website. Yeah, is Om Mani Padme Hum like this just by singing the mantras? Yes, many of the mantras, of course, also Om Mani Padme Hum, just by seeing it, just by touching it, by reciting it, it purifies, definitely many of the negative karmas. Of course, each of those different mantras has, slightly different. Some of them purify with particular negative karma. Some of them purify certain amount of negative karma of 100,000 1 eon, 2 eon, 100,000 billion eon, million. So there is difference in terms of that. Some of how many in terms of what particular negative karma one purify in that, but definitely each of those, all the mantra does have the effect of, by seeing it, by touching it, by reciting it, it purifies a lot of negative karma. Even though the number might not be exactly same, and even though what particular negative karma they purify might not be exactly the same, but all of them do have certain effect of that. Yeah. So then there is this okay to ask during class? Checking on correctly reciting Om Mani for the most benefit. I recite Om Mani in Lama Tsongkhapa's Guru Yoga during 9-line Miktenma before 35 Buddha 3 minutes. Is it better to do a separate cherising sadhana? Of course, if you have time, if you can do, it's better to do all sadhanas separately. It is all, nothing is kind of fixed in that way. If you have time, if you have time and if you want to do it, of course, it's always better to do the separate sadhana. But if you don't have time, then it's not kind of fixed. This is the only way, as I mentioned all the time. If we have time, we should do each day separately. If you can do separately, great. Not only separately, if you can do all of them very details and long meditation is the best. But that doesn't mean if you don't have that you cannot do more short version or just recite the mantra, those, so it all depends on individuals, your time and your practice and all of them, so yeah. When you doing any mantra, can you think of any Dharma topic or only daily and Bodhicitta? I think for us, for those who are like someone like myself, who haven't have all these realizations of the lumbering path and who doesn't have that foundations, then I think it is better to focus on meditating on lumbering topic while you recite the mantra, especially if you're doing it for a long time, But of course, someone who already have lumbering realization and they already have foundational lumbering realizations from Guru devotion to the, bodhicitta, wisdom realizing emptiness, if they already have realization and then they have all this foundation, then if they are working on the actual Tantra path, on generation stage, completion stages, the generation stages, then of course you should focus on the deity, because that is the generation stage is particularly on focus on the deity and the mantras and deity. Okay. Because you don't have to work so much on lumbering itself, because you already have the realization, one already have that foundation realization. But someone who have not have that, then I think, and especially when you are doing a long duration of mantras, then I think at the very beginning, you can do the visualization of the deity, you can visualize the cleansing, purifying, receiving the blessings. But in the middle, while you are reciting, you can meditate on, bodhicitta, you can meditate on emptiness, you can meditate on Guru devotions, you can meditate on whatever subjects of lumbering that you are focusing on, emphasizing on, So you can combine the deity yoga or whatever, whether it's Om Charisic deity yoga or any other deity yoga with the lumbering, So if you can do that, I think that will be more meaningful, more beneficial. So it is not just reciting the mantras and just visualizing deity and cleansing, purifying, but actually while you recite the mantra, you try to meditate on emptiness. I mean one of the lumbering topics. So that will be more beneficial and can be beneficial and helpful. Okay, so I think that is all. So we'll do the dedications. And next week probably might be the last session for this one. Not next week, I think next Friday, I think is a public talk. And then week after that, we'll complete the rest remaining, which is not a lot. There's only a little bit left, dedications and conclusion, but then we might be able to do practice together, finish that, and then do one practice together, maybe. Okay. Again, I'm going to chant in Tibetan. You can join me or you can recite in English, whatever you feel. Yewadi nyoto da Lama sangye tukyo ne dowa chi jama lepa te sala we parashom Chanjo sencho renpo che ma ke pa na ke kyu chi ke wa nyamba me va ya kong le kong do ke wa sho. Jigen kandere pende malu ba kanle chungwe sambe yeshe no kadin sume tenzin jaso la sowa de so tuche lundro tubzu changshin janggen gyave tenzin jong pewe kunsu topol choson kuwe le mo tutu da so du je guen du xiao ten chu la hua nu chou sa de do wa la ya wa kun le la pe tin jen je la ya sam xin chou de re ge su chen la ka den ten be ge sha so. Thank you very much, everyone. Good evening and good afternoon. Is it good afternoon or good morning?
Yeah, good afternoon, Geshe.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you.